Hello and welcome back to Andy's room. I'm here with Buzz Lightyear, and today I'm going to start working on the logic for this toy box, beginning with the driving challenge. If you remember from the playthrough video, the goal of this challenge is to collect all of the orbs as quickly as you can, but you have to do it while driving. It's a fun twist on the basic collection quest, and of course you can build this kind of challenge in any toy box setting that you want. Now, to save a little time, I've already placed the Creativitoys that we're going to need ahead of time. So we'll take a look at those. And I've placed them under the bed because this kind of gets them under the out of the way, which is good for the challenge maker and the button there because that has to stay here. But we have a challenge maker. I have a level starter, a replayer, a timer, a second replayer, a collectible tracker, a button, and I'll explain the need for this shortly, a radar marker and a locator to go with it, a logic gate, here it is, two additional locators for the player 1 and 2 start positions, a vehicle summoner, and 2 additional buttons back over here. And these are going to give us our vehicle. And again, vehicles take up a lot of memory, so this way we can have it when we want it, we can get rid of it when we don't. So for the first button, I'll open up the logic menu. When pressed, we'll come over to the vehicle summoner. I'm going to go down to the toy box category, and you can pick anything you want. I kind of thought the stunt buggy was fun. And we'll use the other button to remove the vehicle. So when that button is pressed, we'll come over to the vehicle summoner, go all the way to the bottom and remove all. So that was easy peasy. Alright, for the replayers, let's go ahead and set the properties on these. I'm going to take the playback interval to 0 so that they play back as quickly as possible. The timer is going to keep track of how long it takes us to do this challenge. And on the properties for this, we're basically just going to turn these flags off. Target time doesn't matter because we're not going to be counting down to that or up to that point. We don't really care about the target time. Alright, the collectible tracker. For the properties on this, I'm going to leave the collectible type set to all, and we'll show on radar. We'll turn that on. And the radar marker is going to go with this locator, so we'll do a new locator connection. We'll connect up to that. I'm going to put this under the button in a moment, but this kind of makes it real easy to connect to. And on the properties for this, I'm going to set the beacon type to be a yellow arrow. Beacon visibility all. Beacon location needs to be the locator. And again, this is going to direct the player over to the button. Oops. I want to move that now because we're done with it, and we'll put it underneath the button. Alright, and then for the challenge maker, basically, we're going to change the results score label to be time. High to low is good. All of the rest of these are good. So all those properties are fine. We're just changing the score label, the results score label. Alright, so we've set the properties now on everything. Now the first thing we need is an arena in which to play. And I could just come out here and go ahead and put that down, but because I want to try to limit the amount of memory I'm using in this toy box so I can squeeze as many games into it as possible, I'm going to put down the arena using a replayer. And just so we can kind of know where to start this arena, we're going to put down 2 starter blocks. These are temporary, and I want to do this before we start the replayer. So under the basic blocks drawer, I'm going to put the first one, as you see here, next to the bedpost. We're going to put down 2 of those. Alright. And then we'll come up to the racing toys. And we're going to start with this quarter pipe, but I'm not going to put this down yet. So we're going to exit out of the editor, and we're going to run over here to our replayer. And again, we've got 2 of these, so we need to be careful which one we're dealing with. We'll do the one on the left first. So I'm going to step on that. That gets us the menu in the lower right. I'm going to press B to start recording. And then in order to get back into the editor, we'll come back out, step off of that. Now I can get into the editor, and now we'll go ahead and put in our little stunt park. And this is how I chose to build mine. You can build yours any way you like. We're going to line it up with that first block there like that. I'm going to put 2 of these down, followed by a corner. And then we're going to put 3 more down. And let me pull up my screen grab here to make sure I got this right. Yes, 3. And then another corner. And then 2 more. And then we're basically going to pretend like we're going to put this in here, but we're not actually going to do it. So we're going to skip room. And we're going to put this, 2 more of these over like this, followed by the corner. And then essentially mirror what we've got on the other side. So 3 of those, a corner, and then 2 of these. And again, we want to leave this open. And then we'll put this piece here in the middle and try to center it in there. So just like that. And at this point, we're done. We can come step back on that replayer. Press B again on my Wii U to stop recording. And I'll clear it in a moment, but I want to point out something. So when you're playing on this, you might be wondering why I didn't close this off, and why I left a gap here and a gap here. And the reason is because as you're playing this and you're jumping up these things, there is the possibility that you could come off of this and fall down outside of here, in which case it becomes impossible to finish the challenge. So leaving these 2 gaps on either side allows you to re-enter the arena if that happens. So that's why I'm doing that. Alright, so now we have the arena, and we're actually going to clear this before we start creating the challenge logic, but I'm going to leave this up for now because we need it to put down the second set of toys, which are the collectibles. So I'm going to come over now to my second replayer over here, and we'll step on that to open that menu in the lower right. Press B again to start recording. Step off so I can get back into the editor. And at this point we'll go to the gameplay toys, and I'm looking for these challenge orbs. And you could just use a single color, but I'm actually going to mix this up a little bit on mine. And I want to place these so that they're up above the height of the ramp. And you want to make sure they're on the inside. You don't want to put these things back here like this. You want to make sure the player can get them. So we're going to make sure we put them like this. And the way I want to set these up, I want to kind of try to evenly space these. So this first one, I'm going to kind of line up with that seam there on the pipe below. And if you'll notice, that's about where I'm oriented on this pipe there. So I'll start with the blue one, and then I'm going to kind of mix these up a little bit. This one will go kind of here, like you see there. And I'm kind of evenly spacing these apart, about 2 blocks apart. So the next one will be here. It'll be right on the terrain seam between those 2 things. And then we'll grab the blue. We want to put this kind of here on the middle. Try to orient it about like that. Next one will be yellow. And I want to make sure I get this right. Yep, so we want this on the terrain seam. want to put this over here on the edge of that. If you don't get this perfect, that's all right. I'm just very much a stickler for perfection, so I'm a perfectionist. Drives my wife nuts sometimes, but oh well, that's who I am. All right, and then the blue one goes here on the middle of this curve like that. Again, we're still a block above. And then the next one sits back here like this, and you can kind of line it up with the one across the way there. Green one, this will go over here, about like that. Blue one, that's a little too far. There we go. So there's our first set on this half. This side is going to mirror that. So we'll start again with the blue one, I think. We'll go to the... We'll go backwards this time. We'll go green for the next one. Yellow for this one, the start of the turn. Blue for the one here in the corner. Green here on this side, and actually we want to line this up with the other end. So we're actually off a little bit over here. And then yellow. And then blue. And then green. Just following the same pattern that you see over there. We get to the corner one here. I want to make sure I put this, I think we had it right there. And then next one would be green. That's going to be over here. Make sure we go across from the other. Yellow, blue, puts this over there, and then we'll put some here in the middle. And for these ones in the middle, I'm going to make sure we put these up above here a little bit. Don't want these sitting directly on the bottom of this, but so we'll put a yellow, and a blue, and a blue, and a green. So that kind of creates like a little pyramid there. And there we go. There are all of our collectibles. And now I will exit. And we'll step on this replayer again to stop recording. And I'm going to press A to clear, which will take all the collectibles out. And then we'll press A to clear on this one, which will take the arena out. So there we go. So the nice thing about playing this game is it'll put itself away when you're done. It'd be nice if all of our games and toys did that automatically, so I like that. And the reason I'm using two different replayers is because I can then reuse this for another challenge, like the Monster Truck Rally that I did in Phineas and Ferb. I also duplicated that in this toy box for myself. So that way I can kind of reuse that. Alright, so we'll start with the challenge maker. And the player begins here. And so we'll do a new logic connection, and the first thing we're going to set up is the timer. So on invites accepted, we're going to come over to our timer, and I'm going to show the timer display. On the challenge maker, a new logic connection when started. We'll come over and start the timer. On the challenge maker, a new logic connection when the game is ended. We're going to come over and we're going to hide the timer. Excuse me. Bumped my mic, so that was probably loud. And then on the challenge maker, a new logic connection when the results are closed. Come over here and reset that timer. Okay. And one more thing on the challenge maker, a new time results connection will connect to the timer, and that will show the results at the end of the game. Alright, so that is it for the timer. And you might be wondering, well, what pauses the timer? Well, this button is going to do that. And I'll hook that up here in a little bit. And again, I'll explain why we need that button shortly. Okay, so with that done, next thing we need is the collectible tracker. So we got to set that up. So on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. On invites accepted, we're going to come over to our collectible tracker. And we're going to reset that. All right. And then we have to set up the replayers. So on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. On invites accepted, we're going to come over to the first one here and do a playback. And we'll do the same with the other one. And then when the game is done, we need to clear those. So we'll do a new logic connection. When the game is ended, come over to each of these and clear. Okay. And that sets up those. All right. Before I cleared that stadium, I should have put the locators in place for the starting positions. So let's come over here and step on this. I'm going to do a playback, which will put the stadium back in place. And let's go ahead and move these locators for the starting positions now where we want them. So the player is actually going to start here in front of the ramp there. So the player 1 will start there. And player 2 will start on the other side opposite that, right there. Alright, so now we can come over here and take that out, because I don't need the stadium now. I think I'm done with it this time for reals. So I'll go ahead and clear that replayer. Alright, so on the challenge maker, we'll do a new locator connection. We're going to connect up to this first locator, and that will be the player 1 starting position. And a new locator connection on the challenge maker. Connect up to the other one. That will be player 2's start position. Okay. So at this point, everything seems pretty good. The player will come out here, they'll be driving, they'll collect all of the orbs, and then what I would love to have happen is on the collectible tracker, I would love to come in here and do a new logic connection. When the final collectible is collected, come over to the challenge maker and complete the game. The problem with that is, at least on my Wii U, when I do that, the game hangs and usually my entire console will crash because the player is in a vehicle, I guess, and they're up in the air and they've just picked up the last collectible, and I guess the game doesn't like them in that state. And the whole system just crashes. So I can't do that. And so because of that, what I'm going to do, let me see here how I want to do this. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of this for right now. So because of that, we have the button. And so I can't key off of this to end the game. So what we're going to do is when the player picks up the last orb, we're going to have them come over here and push the button to complete the game. And this button is always out here. I don't want the player pushing this and ending the game when it isn't active. And so we're going to run the signal through this logic gate. Okay? And so what we're going to do then is we'll have the button set up to do a new logic connection when pressed. We'll come over to our logic gate and we will input to the gate. And on the logic gate, a new logic connection on output. Come over to the challenge maker and complete the game. Okay, but again, I don't want to do this unless the game is active, so I need to close this gate. So that's why we have the level starter here. So on the level starter, a new logic connection on catalyze. We're going to come over and close this gate so that when you load up the toy box, this gate is closed by default. And so pushing that button will do nothing. And what that means now is that when you start the challenge, we need to open that logic gate. And we could do it that way, or I think the better way is probably going to be to come over to our collectible tracker, because we only want to enable that button when all the collectibles are collected. If we do it when the game starts, the player could just skip the whole collectible thing and just run over and hit the button and be done. And so that wouldn't work. And so on the collectible tracker, new logic connection when the final collectible is collected. At this point, we'll come over and open the gate. So that effectively enables the button. And I need to direct the player here. That's why we have the radar marker. So on the collectible tracker, a new logic connection when the final collectible is collected. Come to our radar marker and activate that. Okay. And then when you push the button, that will come through the logic gate. And so on the logic gate, we can do a new logic connection on output. Turn around and deactivate that radar marker. Okay. And then when the game is over, we need to reclose that gate. So on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. When the game is ended, come back over here to the logic gate and close it. And that makes sure the player can't go and push that button again when the game is over. And just in case the player decides to cancel the challenge after they've gotten all the collectibles before they come over and push the button, just probably not going to happen, but just for completeness, on the challenge maker, we'll do a new logic connection when the game is ended. Make sure we come over and deactivate that radar marker. And then the other thing is we need to pause that timer. So on the logic gate, new logic connection on output, we'll come over to our timer. If I can get the thing selected, there we go. And we'll pause the timer. Okay. And just making a note of that on my diagram, because I didn't have that written down, and I want to make sure I capture that for you on the logic diagram when I create it. So there we go. We have a way to get our vehicle and clear the vehicle when we're done with it. We have a way to create and remove the orbs in the stadium. We have our challenge maker all set up. And at this point, you can go ahead and play that, but you already saw me do that in the playthrough video. Now, in the playthrough video, you'll recognize that I had another challenge maker set up right here. And that one was for the Monster Truck Rally, which I also built in my Phineas and Ferb series. So if you want to create that challenge here, you should check out that video. It's the exact same challenge the exact same logic. The only difference in this toy box is that we need to add the stadium ramps before the challenge begins, and we need to remove them when the challenge ends. And you do that the same way that I did for this challenge, is you're going to connect up to this replayer to do that, the same way I just did with this challenge. So that's the only difference with the Monster Truck Rally in this toy box versus my Phineas and Ferb toy box. And again, you're only connecting up to this replayer because this is the one putting in the stadium ramps. You don't want to do this one because that's the collectible tracker. That's only for this challenge. So again, that's why I'm using two different replayers here. But that's all for my driving challenge. Next time I'll show you how to build the slingshot shooting challenge outdoors. Until then, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video today. If you plan to build this challenge in your own toy box, you can find logic diagrams on my blog to help you out. The link is in the video description. Also, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking my photo in the lower right corner if you haven't already done that. Take care and have a great weekend.